I was the caretaker for my grandmother when she had cancer, and she actually died on top of me. And I remember she was getting sick everywhere, and I was underneath her holding her up so she could breathe. And it's normal when people are going through chemo that they have all kinds of body symptoms, and it's messy. But the thing is, when she passed, I was stuck underneath her because your body, when it goes limp, for some reason is so much heavier. Again, this is kind of messed up, so I don't know how far your video goes, but when someone dies, their eyes lose blood and they lose the color in their eyes. And I just remember like looking and being like, oh my God, like it was a sadness that was not just a matter of my loved one is gone. And it wasn't just the fear of me being, around that, but also having to, she has the same color eyes that I do. So for like weeks after that, it was this thought of like, that's what my eyes will do.
I didn't get to see my kids for a little over 4 years. And by the time I saw them, I was out of the Army, and my ex-wife invited me to see the kids, but she insisted that we do it in a public place because she didn't want me to get mad that she had stole all this stuff from me and took my kids. And so she made me meet her in the toy section of Walmart. I have 3 kids, and my 2 sons were running around playing with toys and not really talking to me. And my daughter, who when I left, she wasn't even old enough to walk. She was just crawling. She was almost 5 years old, and she was in the arms of this guy that I had never met. And my ex-wife was like, do you want to let your dad hold you? And she said, this is my dad. And it was the guy that was holding her, and she called me Kyle, my name.
We never really hugged or anything, and he passed away, and I still miss him to this day. Yeah, that was it. Virtual hug, accepted.
I'm sorry that happened, bud.
I feel his pain because I legit shed a tear whenever he said that story.
I'm crying a little bit too.
Yeah, I felt that one, bro.
I'm like lifting my headset, so
You're okay. Don't be sorry.
Yeah, bro, let it out. It's natural to cry, man.
Overdosing on Benadryl. Next thing I know, I can't stand up. I'm hallucinating. I'm dragging my body to the bathroom. I can't stand up to get to the sink. I start a bath and then just kind of keep drinking out of the bath. And eventually I end up drowning. My roommate was able to come in time and get me out of the bath. It was kind of an awful moment in my life, and they kicked me out.
So I had to face like a lot of different things. There's grieving, there's fear because I was stuck and I had to call someone to come get me and help me. And there was facing my own mortality in like the 5-6 minutes, and I was 18. It was such a deeper sadness than most things I'd ever felt, because it was just like, I feel like there's a normal fear of death and a normal fear of dead people and a normal fear of losing your loved ones. But something about like facing, I guess, the perpetual cycle of it all and having to sit and think about it, because I was probably stuck under her for 11 minutes or so. It just sent me like spiraling. And like I said, I don't remember most of that day now, but I have it written in journals, which is so much more messed up.
It was when I lost my family when I was in the military. I was married and had kids. I learned a lot during that time about love and about myself. And I found out that I was getting a divorce from the lawyer. She didn't tell me. She just quit answering my phone calls. She quit talking to me. And all of a sudden a lawyer called me and said that I was getting a divorce, and that if I didn't contest it and didn't try to take anything that she had at my house or at our house, that we could share the legal fees and everything like that. But that if I contested it, I'd have to hire my own lawyer, and then he would work against me. And I really couldn't afford it.
Back at the start of 2020, my mum sadly passed away from jaundice.
I was basically kicked out and abandoned by my current father.
I'm assuming we're talking personal to me here, because if you say dark and sad, yeah, I'm gonna take that route. About a year ago, around October, my boy Finch, who was part of the reason I got out of all the shit that I used to be in with that group. You know, they were good fun. I'd die for any of them, but all in all, it wasn't getting me anywhere.
My grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. I basically had to watch her just decline farther and farther. It was super hard. I definitely had some bad thoughts I probably shouldn't have had, and I felt super guilty for them too, because like I said, my grandmother was dying of cancer in the same house as me, and then my friend was in the hospital. So I was thinking, like I shouldn't be thinking these things because I don't really have a place to, when people in my life are already suffering, probably worse than I was. Like I'm kind of shaky right now, but those 2 people in my life were the most important people. And
so my mom is married to my stepdad, because my real dad, they never got married, but when they were younger, they did it. They made me. My mom didn't want to get rid of me, so she wanted to keep me. My stepmom wanted children, and my dad was like, I have a kid. I don't know where he is, but I'll find him. So they send me over there, And my dad, not a great guy. Man liked to steal cars. He liked to hurt people. And my dad was high on crack or something and was like hitting his head against the car window. And eventually they found some like, I don't know what the hell it was at his house, but they found some like drugs at his house in a drawer.
Prior to her passing, I had a really hard time with being blunt about my emotions, whether it was to people I had a problem with or people I loved. I was just very, not quiet per se, but I kept a lot of my true self to myself. While she was sick, she was telling me like she was afraid to die or she was afraid of this and she wished she had done this. And ever since probably all of those feelings, it's 100% easier for me now to just say what's on my mind and not be afraid. Whether it's, you know, to my good friend, like, I love you. Because that's always weird between friends if they're not into that.
I went through a period of time where I was very depressed. I shaved my head. It was short because of the military anyway, but I shaved my head. I didn't talk to people and I just kind of became very reclusive. I learned a lot about how to treat others and I realized that my goal was wrong, that I was trying to see what I could get out of the relationship. You know, I expected that my wife would treat me a certain way because I treated her a certain way. I just talked to her the other day, but she is a very sharp character, very, very driven. She found a way to not only backcharge me for child support, but then threaten me with a felony if I did not give her the child support. I told her that I couldn't pay it, and so she had me thrown in jail for one day. In order to get out, I had to promise that I would make payments and do all this other stuff, so I got arrested and thrown into jail for child support. And in the end, she said, I will erase all your back child support and I won't charge you anything if you give me full custody of the kids and let my new husband adopt them. I let him adopt the kids, and so I lost it all.
I got out of it because my boy Finch, who I was ride or die with, ended up overdosing. Kid's only like 22 as of last year, right? But he's been doing speed since he was 17, so his voice sounds like he's 80.
Oh.
But he just sounded like a damn bullfrog towards the end of it. And he was just so depressed. He thought nobody liked him when he was sober. Kind of with my head for a little while, and I ended up kind of fading off with those guys. Didn't really talk with them for a while after that. I'd already been kind of questioning, like, yeah, you can't help your nature. You know, certain people like certain things. I know I have certain inclinations toward darker things. There's certain things that I like that I shouldn't like. And being around these people, it was an encouragement to that. Being around these people and in these circles, it allowed me to do these negative things that ultimately were bringing me down as a person. It wasn't contributing to my character. You know, when my boy Finch ended up, you know, it kind of made me think, I don't want to go on like this. I don't want to just go on with these guys who I care about. I deeply care about these guys. But, you know, at this rate, you know, we're all just going to end up dead and worse off for it.
And there was a police officer just strolling by, making sure everything was good on this park. And I remember my mom just going up to him and like thanking him like 60 million times. Like, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. My mom really appreciates cops because my mom also had a tough time with my mom or my grandma. And cops were like the best thing to ever happen to her. Cause yeah, I come from a family line of just some people, dude, like drunks and meth heads and like that, dude. It's so, I don't ever want to do acid or like all these other things because that, I know that's what my dad was on and that traumatized me.
Don't, for the love of God, don't do drugs. It will ruin your life.
When I first started showing signs of anxiety and depression, I was really upset with myself because personally, I feel that I haven't gone through anything traumatic because mental health in general is usually stigmatized towards if you have depression, you must have had something really depressing happen to you.
I was playing football and my knee got destroyed, completely obliterated, and they told me it'd be a year before I'd walk. It definitely hit me hard, like down in the dumps.
97, our house was in the big floods in California, so we lost our place. So that was pretty rough.
For a lot of people with depression, things don't seem to get better and it just seems to get worse, but it will get better at times. And just cherish those moments when you're happy and spending time with people that you care about, because those are the most important moments.
Or to my parents, like, hey, I'm going through a lot right now and I might need help. Or to that kid that I have a crush on, I was like, I have a crush on you and I don't want to waste any time because I've seen what it's like when you sit there with regrets, and I've seen how fast it can go from you're all good to you're not.
I got my life together after a long time, probably it was years of being depressed and not really being able to leave the house. I decided that I needed help, and so I actually went to a men's home for drug and alcohol addictions. Even though I didn't personally struggle with that, it's kind of along the same lines of just having something that I really can't overcome, this problem of not being able to go outside. So I went to a men's home and actually lived in a home with like 20 or 30 other guys. And little by little, I learned how to re-socialize. I learned how to cook my own food. I got back to the basics of when I was in the military, just making my own bed, doing my own laundry, doing all my own stuff. It was hard, but every time that I was sad, the guys would just tell me, life's not over and it's going to get better.
That's the only thing high school really taught me was don't care what other people think about you because they're not going to matter like 5-10 years down the road. Focus on you, do what you like, no matter what anyone else says. If you can't do what you want, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the other people.
How much am I supposed to top that? Kind of what he said about the depression and stuff, I wanted to add on that, like, you're not alone. If you have friends and stuff like that, and if they're true ones, they'll help you out. It's always best to talk about that stuff, because keeping all those feelings pent up is not helping you. It's only going to make things worse down the road. Depression is a fight best fought with friends.
What if they laugh at you?
Just kind of realized that no one around me kind of cared, and then cut everybody off in my life. I was that loner kid, and like I literally talked to no one for months.
Let me learn something about you.
Okay, so we're on the low point, so it's not going to be fun.
Choose your friends wisely, because my mom always said who you associate yourself with is who you will become, and I definitely saw that at that moment in time.
I think the last words that she said to me were, "I love you so much," and that me up, dude. I cried my ass off that night, dude. That was such a rough time. I mean, that's life, I guess.
The thing is like, I'm kind of good at dealing with hard things like that. Like, I'll be upset for like an hour, maybe 2 hours, and then I'll try and forget it happened.
Probably right now, because my sister just gave birth to her child, but it had some complications, so everybody's there visiting right now to say goodbye to the baby, because they have to pull the plug on the life support, and I can't go visit because I'm in the military.
And over time, little by little, I just learned how to just exist by myself. And I had a lot of counseling. One of the counselors said, "You'll never be happily married until you're first happily single. You've got to just learn how to be comfortable being by yourself. And then as you're walking the right path and you're doing what you're supposed to do, somebody will come alongside doing the same exact thing." And that's exactly what happened. So over the course of years of just relearning how to do things and cooking my own food, doing my own laundry, having, waking up by myself, I started going on vacations by myself, started doing things for other people, teaching a Sunday school class at the church, working on the bus. And then one day, this pretty girl, mixed girl, black and Hispanic with bright green eyes, she got on the bus too. Her name's Marcella. I thought, well, it would be neat if we talked a little bit, but I really wasn't interested in getting into another relationship. Even though it had been a long time, I still wasn't ready, and I was worried that it would fall apart. Slowly but surely, it got better and better, and we started talking every day, and now we're getting married.
Find a reason every day to stay, even if it's the smallest reason. For me, it was video games, that I would find a game that I want to play. Say it came out in the next few months. Well, I have to stay alive that long to be able to play that game that I want to play. And so at that time, I was just very confused, and I would always go from not being able to sleep to wanting to sleep all the time, and going through that journey and getting the help that I needed. Continue reaching out and trying to find someone who will listen, who will be there for you, who will support you, or who knows exactly what you're going through and knows the steps that has personally helped them.
The third day of me quitting smoking, because I smoked from like 13 to 23, quitting was sheer hell, because the 3-day point is when your body's completely out of nicotine. It's all gone. That was the first time my body had been nicotine free for like 10 years, but since then it's been fantastic. I don't even crave nicotine anymore.
He was on hospice, and since I was only 12 or 11 at the time, me and my brother thought that we couldn't really hug him or anything because we would get like sick, and that's kind of like a regret that I've always had, never really showing him love in a way.
Having Asian parents is also like suck, because they like literally don't give a shit about your mental health at all. They just want you to get a good score and that's it. But having like no close friends in real life, you have no one to talk to, your parents don't want to help you.
Try and distract yourself, because when I found out my mum died, I was actually playing with some of my friends on GTA. So I went on the mic and I was crying, and they were all trying to calm me down, because obviously, well, you've got to if someone's crying like that. After a couple of minutes of just spilling out everything, I just calmed down and just played some games with my friends, got completely sidetracked, didn't think about it, because obviously if I were to think about it all night, it would devastate me. well, that's my mum. She's probably the most important person in my life who's now gone.
At home, it was really hard for my family members to understand, but eventually, if my mom wasn't working, I would talk to my dad. If that wasn't working, I would go to one person after the next. I went to a counselor, finally got the help that I needed, went to a doctor, and even then, if that doesn't help, seek therapy. Just continue searching for something. And sometimes it can be really hard to find that motivation to continue trying, but trudging and pushing through it is worth it.
When I was depressed, and especially in my teens, I grew up very poor in Detroit. We ate out of the garbage. A lot of times we didn't have running water or electricity. I fell away from that, and I kind of doubted, like, is there really a God? Is there really a point to all this? I came to this town with $200 and the clothes on my back. In just those years since then, I've been able to get a job working at the Department of Defense. I own a business that owns many homes and an apartment complex, so I'm kind of a landlord. And the weird thing is, for the first time in my life, I have real friends. When I was in the Army, I had buddies and work acquaintances, but for the first time in my life, I have real friends. People that care enough to celebrate my birthday, even when I try to hide it from them and don't tell them when my birthday is.
My dad overdosed when I was 9. Yeah, he passed away.
Well, I'm sorry for that.
It's okay though, because I've met some pretty cool people on VRChat.
I started yesterday, so I've not met that many people yet.
You'll be fine. I'll friend you. Welcome to the community.
I was not planning on getting this deep on VR tonight.
This is the AA meeting for the boys. We're sharing. We're taking care of each other here. Overcoming obstacle as a group.
Only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing.
Keep your friends around you, honestly. My friends up there are really good and they've helped me, honestly. They don't know it, but like they've helped me be a better person myself because these are real people that I'm talking to. Obviously, I don't see them face to face, but it's virtually and I can hear your voice and we can talk.
Got tied up with some wrong friends and we ended up doing some really dumb shit. And like my dad found out about it and the look on his face just made me feel like shit. And I almost ended up in jail for 3 years, and then I'm happy I didn't, and I'm blessed.
Yeah, no, my darkest moment is when I left my home country. I moved about 15 times, kind of confusing when you grow up, not knowing like who you can call like part of your family, because like your friends are always changing constantly.
When I was 8 years old, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, so it's like a thing where your insides attack your body, so it's in my bowels, and I bleed from the inside, and it's still a thing. I actually just took my shot not even like an hour ago. I have to take a shot every 10 days and I have to take 2 pills every day.
Here's the message that I want people to understand. And no matter where you are, who you're with, as long as you're okay with yourself and like enjoying your own life, everything will be fine. Whatever happens, as long as you are okay and have a positive mentality about it, you'll be fine eventually. You'll find the right people, you move on. That's what I learned from moving so many times.
I actually had a friend in a kind of like that, and I said like, you got plenty more life to live. Like, it's not all over because of one little mishap. Think about it as a learning experience.
Don't take life too seriously.
Just stay positive and love yourself. Oh yeah, and one last thing. I don't know who's watching this, but I think I can speak on behalf of everybody here. We all love you and stay hydrated. Life is worth living and just smile. You look better when you're smiling.